In a recent conversation I had with my brother-in-law, he revealed something to me that I never knew, although I've known him for more than 35 years. He told me that he was in Riverfront Stadium the day that Henry Aaron tied Babe Ruth's all-time home run record on April 4th, 1974. He was 9 years old and he was at the game with his dad, and he came upon the tickets quite by happenstance. His dad was an insurance agent, and a colleague of his wasn't able to attend the game, and he had 2 tickets, so he gave the tickets to my brother-in-law's dad, and they went. And he said they were box seats. They were pretty good. He had a really good view of Hank Aaron's home run. He told me that the ball was hit very high and that it drifted to the left, and when it first left his bat, he didn't think it had enough power to leave the ballpark, but then it became obvious it was going to. The irony is, even though I watched Hank Aaron's 715th home run the following Monday on television, I didn't really see it at all. My name is Byron Copley, and this is All About Baseball, the podcast whose name fulfills its purpose to cover baseball from all possible angles. Sometimes baseball is the main character, sometimes it plays a supporting role, and sometimes it's a silent partner. Because Hank Aaron hit home run number 713 the previous season, on the next to last day of the season against the Houston Astros, he had the entire off-season of 1973 and 1974 to anticipate breaking Babe Ruth's record. And that's not something he was happy about. Having witnessed that time in my life, I was a 17-year-old kid, the anticipation for Aaron breaking that record among baseball fans like me was palpable. I'm sure Aaron would have wanted to have broken the record prior to the end of the 1973 season, but it just didn't work out that way. In fact, it wasn't until 1971 when he hit his 600th home run on April 27th of that year against Gaylord Perry in Fulton County Stadium did the discussion of him breaking Aaron's record really begin. Even though the focus narrowed on Aaron during that off-season of 1973, the spotlight began to be shown upon him 3 years earlier. And if you do the math, and given that Aaron didn't look like he was slowing down at age 37, he only needed 3 years to break the record. And that was pretty much in line with the average number of home runs he hit throughout his career, which was 32. So he hit 114 home runs in a little less than 3 years to break the record. At the end of the 1971 season, Henry Aaron had 639 home runs. At the end of the 1972 season, Henry Aaron had 673 home runs. So by then it was just a matter of time that Aaron was going to break the record. And it's something that he wanted to do very much, but at the same time was not at all happy with the attention and pressure that was put on him. Henry Aaron set a record of another kind, and that is the number of pieces of mail received by a single individual during a calendar year. It was roughly 900,000, and that's validated by the U.S. Postal Service. A third of that mail was hate mail. Mail from people who didn't want to see Henry Aaron break Babe Ruth's record. And we were reading about the hate mail he was getting at the time. He attracted the attention of the FBI. He was getting death threats. Some of the letters that have been made public are horrific in their vitriol and visceral viciousness, if you don't mind the alliteration. Obviously rife with racial epithets, which was probably the main, well, not probably, which was the main reason why the people who wrote Aaron wrote those letters. But I just want to paint the picture, if you will, of the pressure that Henry Aaron was under during that year, prior to breaking the record and during the off-season when he came so close to doing it. Home run 714 was an event that was celebrated at Riverfront Stadium. Present there was Vice President Gerald Ford, Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn, and Chairman of the Board for the Atlanta Braves, Bill Bartholomew. Each of them offered comments to Aaron supporting his accomplishment. Bowie Kuhn gave him a trophy commemorating his his tying the record, and Bartholomew gave him a plaque. And they all uttered, platitudes of like, it's good for baseball, you're a gentleman. Bowie Kuhn said that especially, you're a great ball player, but a better gentleman, and I paraphrase that. And I think that was in reference to the way he, with such dignity and grace, outwardly endured the pressure and the attention that he was getting for breaking a record that many felt was hallowed and that would never be broken. When it was his turn to speak on that day, after thanking Vice President Gerald Ford, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn, and Bartholomew, he said, "I'm glad it's almost over." So obviously by this time Aaron was ready to break the record, to the point where even though he didn't play on Saturday, April 6th in Cincinnati, he played on Sunday, April 7th with 3 at-bats, but he went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. So perhaps he really was in a hurry to get this over with. And if you review some of the quotations that he had and the comments that he had, quote, "Every day becomes a little tougher because of all of this. Writers, tape recorders, microphones, cameras, questions and more questions. Roger Maris lost his hair the season he hit 61. I still have all my hair. But when it's over, I'm going home to Mobile and fish for a long time." Unquote. So on the night of April 8th, 1974, my dad and I were sitting in front of the television set in anticipation of Aaron breaking his record that night, hoping he would do it, that it would get all over with as he wanted, and that we would witness a moment of history that was unlike any other that had ever happened before or since. Aaron's first at bat, he walked, much to the chagrin of the sellout crowd that booed every pitch that missed the strike zone, delivered by Dodger pitcher Al Downing. After 3.5 innings, the Dodgers were winning 3-1, and Aaron was due up second in the bottom of the 4th, and the broadcast went to commercial. Then the phone rang, and my dad jumped up to answer it, spoke for a short time during the commercial. Just as the broadcast feed came back on, he came back into the living room and changed the television channel, much to my amazement. And what he changed it to was something that was very strange. It was like some kind of nature program on PBS, and I just looked at him. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. And he said a friend of mine called and said this would be interesting, and I just still looked at him thinking to myself, this is on every night. What we're about to witness will never happen again, and has never happened in our lifetime. It was truly a bespoke event, and here I am watching ants eat leaves on public television. And for what seemed like an eternity, I stared at that screen. I dared not tell him to change the station. I wasn't wired to do that. I figured he would change it. But he went back and sat down on the couch. In the meantime, the 4th inning was underway. And I looked at him after a long silence, and I said, "Dad, I'm going to change the channel." I didn't ask permission. I just got up and changed the channel. And when I changed the channel back to NBC, there was Henry Aaron at home plate, being mobbed by his teammates. Needless to say, I was crestfallen. And I looked at my dad, and he said, "Don't worry, you'll see it 100 times. And I remember exactly what I said back. And I didn't talk back to my father as a matter of course, and I don't really think I did this time either. But what I said because I wanted him to understand my disappointment. I said, "Dad, I'll never see it. I missed it. I could see it 1,000 times, but I missed the moment." After that, I don't remember anything. But I carried that disappointment with me for a long time. And maybe the sound of my voice illustrates that it's still there. But when I reflect on it now, and I think of the context of the circumstances, there was really a larger, more important lesson to be learned here. And even though, yes, I missed the moment of Hank Aaron's historic home run, there was a bigger moment there that wouldn't have happened had he not changed the channel. And that was the moment of me being able to level with my father, to actually tell him what I was actually feeling about something. Thank you for listening. I'm grateful as always. I look forward to your comments, suggestions, and feedback. As I've said before, this podcast is designed to cultivate an audience of like-minded people who are passionate about baseball, but also recognizes that it reaches beyond the field. I look forward to the next time. My name is Byron Copley.